Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so honored and glad to have all of you sign up and join me on this webinar. This is my passion, sharing my story and giving back. Find something that you will do for free and learn how to monetize it is one of the quotes that one of my mentors always told me. So a little bit of housekeeping. The format of this webinar is going to be the first 30 minutes of pure value add content. It's going to be completely for you guys. The next 15 minutes is just going to be talking about a special offer I have where it's a boot camp starting in August, helping you to become a public speaker and how to strengthen your brand. And then I'll save the last 15 minutes for Q&A. So of note, the general framework for launching and scaling and monetizing your public speaking career. And we're going to go into the general overview of each of these steps. And the boot camp program will expand upon that. So regardless if you sign up for the program or not, pay close attention because these are the key steps that you will need to succeed and make it as a public speaker. So please turn off all cell phones, stay till the very end. Please turn off all notifications and please keep microphones on mute and turn your cameras off. I have to put out a little bit of disclaimer here. So this webinar is just designed for you to give you added value for educational purposes only. There's no guarantee of success. This is not a get rich quick scheme, and there's no such thing as overnight success. So success is a process and a journey. It's not a destination. But I find that all of the clients that I've worked with that invest in themselves and are 100% committed, some of you are on this webinar as well, and take actions are the ones that will ultimately succeed. Also, at the very end, if you're interested in getting into webinars, there will be an affiliate link where I get rewarded for your sign up, but it's at no additional cost to you. But if you're going to sign up for it, I would greatly appreciate it if you signed up through my link. So what are we going to learn tonight? The one is why now is the best time to become a public speaker, especially in the COVID-19 era. And what I want to do is open up your eyes and broaden your scope and definition of what a public speaker is and does, and how easy it is to get started and to start sharing and inspiring your audience. So a lot of you are already doing public speaking, but you may not realize it. Also, pay attention to the stories because stories are the vehicles that you will be delivering your information, ideas, and content and keeping your audience engaged. So I'm going to also talk about the key point I want to take home for you tonight is the importance of building your story brand. That is the vehicle that's going to get you hooked. The vehicle that's going to get you booked for your speeches and allow you to start influencing and sharing your message. We'll also get into the different types of speeches, getting started. I'm going to give you a lot of pearls of wisdom through my 2 years as a public speaker, some success stories, and finally a conclusion. And then also pay attention also to getting booked on other people's platforms as well as developing your own platform so that you're never dependent upon someone else for your speeches. So let's do a quick poll here. So how are you guys using public speaking currently in your career? So it could be full-time, could be part-time, in addition to your full-time income. It could be either free or paid, or how many of you want to learn how to use public speaking? And you guys can go ahead and enter in all of the your responses. So it looks like 0% are full-time career, about 42% are part-time. So you do it in addition to your full-time income, and that's the best way. And then about 50% want to learn how to use public speaking. So, both audiences are going to get a lot of value and tidbits on how to accomplish each of your goals. So what makes me qualified to be giving this presentation? And I want you to pay particular attention to this slide because we're going to come back to this when we talk about Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey and how it relates to building your story brand. So nowhere was being a public speaker on my radar if you asked me what I would be doing when I was in my teenage years or my early 20s. I was shy, introverted, I stuttered, I couldn't look people in the eye. I was short, pudgy Asian kid, always the outsider. So I always got bullied, I always got picked on. And a lot of my friends came from wealthy families. I didn't have any of that. So from an early age, I saw the power of what being financially free and independent could do for one's life and family. So as you'll see later with the hero's journey, I share that story of authenticity and vulnerability, along with my unique entrepreneurial journey and path to be able to reach audiences, influence, and impact them on a level unattainable if I had stayed the conventional route. So I had to develop that entrepreneurial skill set in order to survive. I grew up with a lot of uncertainty and dysfunction, and there was a point where I told myself I would never be dependent upon any job, boss, corporation, government, social security, or pensions. But I went into the high paying professions not because I was passionate about it, but at that time, at the cusp of the industrial and um, millennial age, those were the professions that would provide economic stability, status, and prestige so you could get ahead in life and have a nice life. So I went to Baylor for medical school. I was part of the MD PhD program along with Rice University. And but it was during medical school that I started investing in real estate and in stocks and options. And this was right after 9/11 because I saw all of that uncertainty happening and also with managed care. And so by my final year of medical school, I was able to generate a full-time income without needing to depend on a job or working for someone else. But nevertheless, I was strongly encouraged to pursue the conventional route. So I remember going through the specialty list, and I wasn't particularly enthusiastic or passionate about any of them, but I settled upon orthopedic surgery because that was the highest paying specialty. Matched in 2007 to Rutgers University, but on day one, I knew I had made the wrong career choice, but I toughed it out for 2 years out of fear. At one point, I could no longer look myself in the eye. So, at the peak of the financial crisis in September of 2008, when Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, I mustered up the courage, walked into my chairman's office, and resigned on the spot. And as they say, the rest is history. So, that was one of the lowest points in my life, but that was, you'll see later on, the hero's journey, where I spent the next 8 years investing in single family condominiums. And by my mid 30s, had become a millionaire to the point where I would never have to work for anyone if I didn't want to. I then took a year off and in 2017 launched my freelance consulting company. So now I'm a 4 times Amazon author. I've appeared on top physician influencer platforms, including John Jerica, Maisha Claiborne, Charmaine Gregory, Andrew Tisser, Dave Draginas, Kevin MD, Peter Kim's Passive Income MD, and Mike Wu Ming. And I've also preparing for my TEDx talk in October, and I've also been on Peter Kim's Leverage and Growth Summit, as well as a SEAT conference speaker in 2018. And so now I'm focused more on, instead of getting on other people's platforms, I'm focused on creating my own platforms. I'm passionate about inspiring others and motivating them to take actions to better themselves and better their lives, whether that's through alternative careers, multiple streams of income, becoming influencers and public figures. Because whether you know it or not, most of the people on here aren't probably struggling financially, but they're just trying to find a leg up in order to gain more influence and more um, to help others and to elevate others. So this is really for people that are want to make a difference and impact in the world. So broadly speaking, a public speaker, I want you to focus on the second definition, which was the art of effective oral communication with an audience. So all of us, most of us are physicians on this webinar. We do this every day with our colleagues, our spouses, especially our patients, our kids. So whether you believe it or not, most of us have public speaking skills. We just don't realize it. So I'm trying to bring that out to you and trying to let you guys know. So enough about me. I want this webinar to be about you. This was my first paid speech. I started my speaking career in June of 2018. I had I didn't know anyone or anything. I had almost no social media following. Um, but I started going to conferences and I started to network and I started to put myself out there, started to do these small 15-minute, 30-minute speeches. I even joined Toastmasters just to force myself to be impromptu and spontaneous. This first conference, they paid for flight, hotel, transportation, and food. And from there, I secured 5 high-ticket coaching clients into my 6-week private coaching program. That's how effective my message was. So I started getting on video, doing lives. I started doing pro bono speeches. And you'll find that doing pro bono speeches is the easiest way to make more than actual paid speaking gigs. So typically a 5K speaking gig is, it's pretty good, but the 10,000, 15, 20 is reserved for the more experienced and the ones that have a greater brand. But even if you do it pro bono or even less than 5K, you can always monetize it through other means. For example, I'll show you later. I've coached a lot of clients. I've sold a lot of books. I've secured a lot of future speeches. So I'm trying to teach you guys how to learn how to monetize your skill set. There's so many different ways. Even though the conference doesn't pay you per se, in effect, it's giving you a platform so that you can add value, educate, inspire, and teach. So another point I want to make is we've all given presentations during medical school, residency, fellowship, but all of these were actually just free. They're not actually paid. So I want to emphasize the key is how to monetize your brand and experience through paid speeches. So whether it's through CME or it's through grand rounds or other privately, independently organized speeches, there's always ways to monetize it. So the next point I want to make is we all have to be smarter. We all write, we all speak, and we all influence. So we need to learn how to monetize that skill set. And lastly, I want to make the point that public speaking is all about persuasion, influence, motivating, and inspiring others to action, along with education and information through the use of stories. So I went on a Texas tour. I spoke at my alma mater, promoted my books, appeared on a lot of panels and podcasts. And it was after 15 months, I was pitching all talks at Google, Fortune 500. All of them were rejected for about 15 months. But eventually, I built a big enough brand and a following to land my first TEDx talk, which was back in February of 2020. Because of COVID, it was scheduled for April, but got delayed until October. So I'm giving all my audience and followers the link once it's actually completed. So, and then my first TEDx talk, this is going to be one of the items we will specifically address in the boot camp because I get a lot of inquiries and questions on the question, how do I become a TEDx speaker? That seems to be the one thing everybody wants to go for the TEDx, but I want to emphasize that there's a more strategic way of using TEDx and getting on the TEDx stage rather than how do I become a TEDx speaker, because it's quite an involved and multimodal process. Also in October of 2020, I'm going to be offering a 2-hour workshop on crafting your TEDx speech, connecting with the right people. And that will be also one of the bonus portions of the bootcamp program. This was the Leverage and Growth Summit that I was a part of most recently, back in May, with Peter Kim's Passive Income MD, along with 50 other physicians. And this was recently, this was my first virtual international keynote for the Cairnhill School in Scotland. So right now, I've gotten more creative, I'm more diversified in terms of how I'm able to reach my audience using technology. So the next poll I want to start is how many of the following are using the following platforms? I know we have a lot of podcasters, YouTubers. I know there's a couple of physician influencers in the audience. So online courses, webinars, masterminds, any of the social media lives, IGTV, TikTok, Snapchat. So just go ahead and enter in your responses, and we'll go from there. So I'm getting a lot of Facebook, YouTube, IG lives, IGTV. It's about 75%, and then the other 25% is podcasting. So the point I want to make with this poll is that so many of you are already public speakers. You just don't realize it. We do it every day. With in our everyday clinical practices with our clients. It's just that being a public speaker on stage or on webinars and different platforms is just more concentrated and delivered from one to many in a single point in time. So the idea is that we have a message, a story, and we have a medium, in particular video, audio, could be live or recorded, and we're putting our own spin and twist on things in order to connect with our audience, in order to educate, inform, entertainment, inspire, etc. So the question is, why be a public speaker? And so there's a lot of advantages of being a public speaker. One is that it gives you a platform. So it gives you a way to reach people, influence people. You can talk about very important social issues, physician burnout, physician finances, racial inequalities, COVID-19. So it gives you a platform. It elevates you to being an influencer and a public figure. It also is a way to market yourself. So when you're on stage or in front of audiences, you can be talking about your experience, knowledge, expertise. You can be building your brand. You can be marketing your products, your services, as well as your authority. The other thing is I want to emphasize is that being a public speaker has amplified my network and my reach by 10x. So traditionally, when we used to go to conferences, we'd go and shake hands, go to these happy hours and exchange information, business cards. So that's networking 1.0. But in today's society, with the information age, you can use public speaking to 10x your network. So what that means is that you being on stage and you delivering the value brands you as an authority. So that's going to cause a lot of people to reach out to you, ask for your knowledge, your expertise. The other thing is that it recession proof your business, because if you look at COVID-19, a lot of people are struggling. However, with the multiple streams of income system that I've developed and created over time as a result of being an outsider, I'm actually thriving now. So COVID-19 helped me to thrive, and it also introduced new business channels and means of being able to go out and actually thrive when the next crisis hits. So right now I have 8 to 9 different income streams, but public speaking is one of my favorite because it helps me to share my story, inspire others. And I actually want the same for you as well. It's actually very lucrative. I know that, for example, you know, Tony Robbins, Oprah, all Michelle Obama, you build a big enough brand, you can get, make 100,000, 200,000 in a single day. So it's very lucrative. The other thing is the last is very creative. So it allows you to use your knowledge and your expertise and how you're going to market yourself and how you're going to deliver that value to the masses. And then the last four are what I call higher level advantages. So that's more being able to reach people, to impact people, influence people to make their lives better, to inspire them, to motivate them. So I think that's one of the reasons why all of us are interested in public speaking, is because we want to give back and we want to become influencers and public figures. And it's not because we need the money, but because we actually want to. So it's going to be actually passion income. So what are the different types of speeches? So we can go into the different types. So for example, there's, the most common ones are keynotes where you're up in front of an audience, but there's also ones where you're conference breakout sessions where you can be part of a panel. There's a lot of different types. For example, TEDx, Fortune 500, Google, there can be invited guest speakers. So really it depends on how creative you are and the conference organizers. And what you can do is it can serve very different purposes. So you can inspire, you can motivate, you can educate, you can teach. The other big thing that's evolving in this COVID-19 era are digital platforms. So you create your own speaking platforms, such as podcasting, YouTube, webinars, virtual summits. All of these can be either recorded or live. All of it is you're speaking in front of people and you're speaking to an audience. And you can also create your own platforms as well. So that's a way to amplify your reach and also to diversify your income streams, as well as to impact more people. So this slide is one of the most important slides in the webinar, and it's called the story brand. And if you look at all of the TEDx talks, if you look at all of the major Fortune 500 keynotes, all of the global keynotes, Google, things like that, all of the speakers will use this paradigm. And in the bootcamp program, we will devote a significant portion to crafting and developing your story brand that is pitchable. So when you go to pitch your idea to the conference organizers, to your connection, the message, it hooks and it also has a high impact. So that's the purpose of the bootcamp program, is to craft your story so that you become extremely marketable to the highest conferences. So let's go in through this, what is called the hero's journey. So this is popularized by Joseph Campbell. And you have this known area and you have the hero. So for example, if you remember my story, I had the traditional well-known path, pretty linear path to success. But then I realized that I was living a lie and I wasn't really following my true passion. So that's my call to adventure, right? And so the day that I turned in my keys, badge, and pager to set out and create my own destiny, that's the abyss. So that's the down. So the reason why my story resonates with so many audiences is because nobody in their right mind could imagine, leaving an orthopedic residency because they weren't passionate about it. Because that's one of the highest competitive specialties and is really hard to get in. So it resonates with a lot of people, and it also triggers a lot of questions. And then what did you do afterwards? So that's the part where I became a millionaire and created multiple streams of income, and now I'm sharing it with others and I'm teaching others. So that's the all stories have a beginning, a peak, a downfall, and a rise again. So that's the important thing is you want to, and everybody has a story. Nobody's story is going to be perfectly linear. So you want to find your market segment. What are their pain points? What are their aspirations? And you want to craft your story. What is your start? What is your rise to the top? What is your fall? And what is your rise again? And you want to use that story along with your idea to hook your audience and to create your message. So that's the key on how you make it onto the TEDx stage, Google, Fortune 500, and keynote global speeches. So how do you get started? Really, I started out, I started volunteering. I started speaking at Toastmasters, Rotary Clubs. I was part of a lot of networking masterminds, and I would just do speeches for free. Even if it was a 5-minute speech, 10-minute speech, I started doing videos on YouTube. I started putting it out there because the number one fear is not fear of failure. The number one fear of people is fear of public speaking. It is, I'm not sure, it's invokes a primal fear response in us because it's just the public ridicule and the shame and the rejection. So a lot of people shy away from it. But if you can learn to tolerate a little bit of social pressure, you can put yourself under uncomfortable situations, you will eventually develop a tolerance. So same with me, I stuttered, I wasn't able to speak well in public, but now after, thousands of iterations, I'm able to be comfortable and share my message and story. They can be invited, volunteer, conferences. You can do your own platforms. A lot of you are podcasters. A lot of you are YouTubers, even on your Facebook and Instagram Live. So a lot of you have already gotten started. So the next phase is to find out what your message is and how you want to craft that story to get it to your audience. So all of us have an inspiring message and a unique story to share. We have to develop, craft, and hone it for maximal impact. And the top elements that I've seen in the top speakers are they have the art and science of speaking, which is the creativity, which is the communication portion, the desire to share, inspire, motivate, and educate. And then there's also the business part. And the business part is the part where it's going to make you it's going to make it either lucrative. It's going to involve a lot of marketing, pitching, selling. It's going to be a lot of networking, but it's one of my favorite portions because I'm very business minded. So if you can combine the two, you can do very well for yourself as a public speaker. So the next decade is all about the creative entrepreneur. It's going to be for all the people, the risk takers. The industrial age where everybody was relying on a single income, a pension, the government. If, like I said, if you don't take risks and you don't start innovating and thinking outside the box and start adapting to the information age, eventually you'll struggle and get left behind. So really the next decade is really those who are pursuing their dreams and passions and not really clinging on to stability and security. So you have to get smarter, start educating yourself. A lot of you are taking the first step by attending this webinar. I think the fields of AI, automation, virtual reality, blockchain, Internet of Things are going to create accelerations. So don't get left behind. Take the knowledge here and apply it to your current situation. So, I mean, you can read a lot of the testimonials. Really, my passion is, whether I get paid for it or not, is really if I inspired you to take action and I motivated you, then I did my job. So, for example, this what at my one of my speeches, I was able to motivate this physician. What he said was he couldn't remember the exact content, but he could remember my process and what I was going through, which resonated with him. And right now he's got himself out of a sticky situation, and now he's on his path towards financial freedom. A lot of these I have, if I'm able to motivate you and inspire you, then I've done my job. Here was another audience member. He's now a client of mine. I was able to inspire him and have him face his fears and take the leap and have him live the life that he's dreamed of. But it's been a pleasure serving my audience over the last 1.5, 2 years. I do anticipate, becoming bigger, becoming a bigger brand, and influencing more and more people. So if I can inspire, motivate people, and use my vulnerability and authenticity to help others, and I want to do that lifelong through my speeches. And so what it is, I want to introduce you to the bootcamp curriculum, which will start in August. The first week, it's a 4-week program. Each week has a 1-hour session, just like tonight. It's going to be talking about different aspects. So the first one is going to be building your story brand. The second week is going to talk about the getting booked for the different types of speeches. Third week is going to be talking about how to get booked as a speaker. And the fourth week is going to be talking about just the nuts and bolts. Most of my speaking gigs have been paid via 1099. So, the importance of an S corporation to save on taxes, a lot of deductions. I also include live 1-hour Q&A. So there's 2 of them. So you always get access there. So that's going to be the curriculum. There will be changes and adjustments as needed. And so this is the actual, course value, if you will. So the first, I like to think of it in terms of client assessment, where they're at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then work on transformation. So how to best take them from where they are to where they want to be. So a lot of the assessment talks about mindset. There's going to be a live education with myself, as well as private one-on-one consultation. So this portion is worth $800. The transformation portion is worth $1,000, and it's going to be a lot of. You're going to have a private Facebook group. You're going to have networking. You're going to have access to me and my team. There's the educational webinars and the biweekly live Q&A. And so what I want to do is if you're interested in, go ahead and sign up. It's $250 today, but it will go up to $300 tomorrow. So the total value is $2,500. You also get various bonuses. So you're going to get the main thing is you're going to get access to my online course, which is $350 value, which is financial freedom through passive income. You're also going to get a personalized autographed copies of my 4 financial freedom book series worth $80. And you also get a free 15-minute discovery private coaching call at $60. And then also you get a free ticket to the October virtual workshop on how to become a TEDx speaker. So that's currently going at $197. So there's a lot of bonuses here. I'm really invested, and I really want to see you guys succeed. If you're interested in using public speaking as a additional thing. So with that, I'll leave the offer up, and then, if you're interested, just go ahead and, sign up. And these are some of my client testimonials. Dr. Reddy, who who became a client of mine after the Leverage and Growth Summit. I've also, I've worked with, done projects with Charmaine Gregory, Maisha Claiborne. So these are some of my other clients uh, from my various speaking engagements. So all positive testimonials, and I'm always dedicated to the client success. So final thoughts. Public speaking is highly fun, it's enjoyable, it's creative, it can be really lucrative, and it's a great way to supplement your main income. The biggest pitfall is not getting started and letting your fear of failure or fear of speaking in front of people get to you. So really get started. I hope I've been able to give you a good framework for how to get started. And if you join me on the boot camp, I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy to take any questions. So let's see here. I'm going to turn the I'm going to turn the chat box on. So go ahead and type in your questions, and then I'll also leave the offer up. So if any of you are interested in purchasing, I see a couple of people purchased already. So thank you for that. And then I'm happy to take any questions. Yeah, I see the offers up now. Sorry about that. And I'm happy to feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them. So one of the questions is, what has been the most challenging part of your journey in the last 2 years? So I would say the most challenging part has been just getting out there and sharing my message, because a portion of it was, at first I was actually scared to share my message of leaving an orthopedic career, because that was highly frowned upon. So for a long time, I hid. I would I was still successful in my company and my business, but I never shared my story until one day in this moment of vulnerability, I shared it with a good friend. And um, she said, your story resonates with a lot of people. You just don't know it, because our medical profession is really insulated, and it's very, it was really cliquish. So, if you can start to share your story and start to reach other people and inspire people. So that's why I wrote my books, my first book, which is my autobiography, which is really just to get it out there, get out my story so that people could, so I wouldn't have to repeat the same story over and over, so people could just go to the book. So that's been one of the most, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges. So I mean, the challenge of building a speaking business and a career, building your brand, it takes it almost, I've worked probably harder on my speaking career and business than I have in your medical career. So it takes that kind of dedication and perseverance. The I mean, there's I'm happy to chat with you afterwards. You can always shoot me an email, and set up a follow-up call as well. The other question is, how and where do you find speaking opportunities? So that's one of the sections that we're going to delve in the boot camp. Uh, but I will say that the number of speaking opportunities is unlimited. So I you're not going to suffer from lack of speaking opportunities. The reason why you won't be successful is because you're not your product market fit is either wrong, or you're just marketing it in the wrong way. You're not monetizing in the wrong way. So it's not really a lack of opportunity. It's more how creative and inventive you are in creating those opportunities. So that's one of the reasons why I advocate not only getting on other people's stages and platforms, but also creating your own, so that you're never dependent upon someone else selecting you as a speaker. So if the speaking lineup is full, you always have your own speaking opportunities. So I hope that answered your question. Let's see here. The other one of the questions is, I have no experience speaking. I feel like I need Toastmasters work before working with you. That's a great question. I think part of that is dealing with procrastination. So, but I have your name and I have your email, so I can follow up with you. I will say that, for example, I've had clients in the past. The ones that commit 100%, whether they're fears or not, that commit, I do have a good success rate. So all of my clients that I select carefully, so that I I only work with certain types of clients that have a certain commitment and motivation. It's not just someone who's just going to pay their money and expect to get the result, because it will take a significant amount of work. But I do think that having a experienced person working with you um, will help accelerate your progress better. So one was, let's see here, what's your highest speaking gig that you've booked? So okay, so again, there's different levels, tiers of speaking. So the my major that success back in was 5,000, right? So that was the highest one. Usually if you have to go like 10,000 to 20,000, that's going to be where you have a bigger brand. Usually if you're getting paid 1,000 to 5,000, that's pretty good for for a weekend. So um but you can follow up with me if you want to ask more questions and things like that. um let's see, I'm happy to take any other questions. We have about 10 minutes remaining. One of the questions was, did you start local, or were you willing to travel all over from the get-go? So, um, also a great question. That first so when I started my speaking career in June of 2018, that was all local. So that was either I would drive, because it was all within the Houston area. So that's when I was first starting. I wanted it to be a low risk endeavor, so I didn't want to waste a lot of time or expenses. So that's why I started with my local area. And believe me, your local area has at least 10 to 15 opportunities, I would say, per week. You have to find them, or you have to go create them. So if you want, like, for example, um I was doing one speech per week in order to build up my experience in my knowledge base. From there, I got my first paid speaking gig in Chicago. So that's where they paid for you to travel and things like that. But like I said, sometimes your message or your brand inspires them, and automatically, so what. But if you're not well known, it's best to start locally and then go nationally. So I hope that helps. So one of the question is, how did you get past the pressure of feeling like you had to be the absolute expert on the topic? Again, this sounds like a fear. So the short answer is that you have to just oh, I see that several people have purchased as well, so thank you. Um but the thing is that um you had to the your fear, you just, like I said, procrastination, this thing where you have this perfectionist mentality. So perfection is going to be the enemy of execution. So if everything has to be perfect before you execute, you're never going to take advantage of the opportunity. So your question sounds like it's going towards the like you're fearful of something. So if you can get past that, then, like I said, you just have to take that first step. Thanks. I see several have also purchased as well. Okay, I'll leave the offer up for another minute, so in case any of you are last minute want to sign up. Um, but feel free to follow me. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Chris Lou MD PhD. You can check out my YouTube channel, Christopher H. Lou MD PhD. Sign up, subscribe. I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Chris Lou MD PhD. And just continue to float each other's boats. Continue to support each other. And I really wish the best for you. Whether you signed up or not, I really appreciate everybody, for their support. I really aim to, deliver the best value and content, and I really want to see everybody succeed. So, thanks everybody that showed up. Thanks everybody that signed up. And then just reach out to me, and then keep in touch. Look out for other webinars as well, because I'm putting out another webinar in the next few weeks about smart networking system, Airbnb, LinkedIn. So I'm always looking to add more value to everybody. Okay. So thanks so much. And, have a great week, and continue to, crush it in life and in your careers and in your relationships.